Hello guys and welcome back. We are now on to week 6, or session 6, whatever way you want to call it, in terms of our time together. I hope we're getting on quite well now back to school and we're all starting to, I suppose, re-engage with school and school life and starting to get back into the natural flow of things, okay? As discussed at the end of last week's session, I hope you're finding these sessions useful. I hope that the video medium and that kind of online element is really is helping you guys out, being able to pause, rewind and re-watch a little bit of the material. As discussed at the end of last week, at the end of week 5, we kind of finished up a little bit of work on our question A question. As I said, also we will come back to this at a later stage, again certainly before the mocks, and then again on before the actual Leaving Cert as well. We'll just have those kind of reaffirmation sessions just to make sure that we are all doing everything that we're supposed to do, okay? So again, 12.5% already boxed off. In today's session, guys, we'll have a little look at the board now in a second, but in today's session what we are going to focus on is another part of our paper 1 material. It's the last week, as I said. I know you guys are itching to start on our paper 2 stuff. You're itching to start on the kind of studied material and making sure that we get through that, and which we will do now next week in week 7. But again, what we're going to do is we're going to have a really solid introduction into our question B question. Now we might not get everything done. I will be able to show you in the notes where you guys can go and do a little bit of work by yourselves, but I promise you at the end of today's session we will have a good and a much better understanding of the question B task, what's needed from us in the question B task, and again, those little tips and tricks that'll hopefully, I suppose, allow you guys to maximise your grade and maximise the percentage you're able to draw from this particular question, okay? Guys, we're back in the notes today, before we look at the board there, just so that we're all on the same page. We're on page 135 of the notes, if you want to have a little look at that there now. Again, top of the page to section 3, comprehending question B, okay? So this is the question B part of the comprehension. And let's have a little look. As promised, week 6, so we're motoring, we're getting through the weeks. We are on to question B. It's genuinely, I think, not to jump the gun a little bit, but I would argue that this is up there with the easier tasks in terms of your Leaving Certs, certainly one of the easier tasks with regards to English. It is another 12.5%, so a good chunk of percentage here, guys. Again, you're looking at 2 if not 3 grade points there. 50 marks, okay? Again, same percentage breakdown as our study poetry, so it's very, very important we get this right, okay? You'll see here, this is kind of one thing that I preach to my day school students, to my grind students constantly, is that your question B question is very much style over substance, all right? Now, when I say style, hopefully I'd like to think at this stage, 6 weeks in, when I say style, you understand that I am talking about the stylistic elements of English and the 5 different categories of language, these 5 different styles that we spend so long on in terms of those first 3 weeks looking at. So it's very much style over substance. Case in point, we as examiners, we as teachers, we don't really fixate on what you say within a question B answer. It's much more how you say it, all right? And that's effectively what I mean by style over substance, okay? Case in point, you can see here 3 different pluses here. Techniques, 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 all right? It's very important that we're using techniques, and we're using, again, a myriad, we're using a plethora of different techniques within our answer, okay? That's really, really important, because you have to show the examiner you know exactly what way you're supposed to be writing within this particular task, okay? We'll look at structure and shape today as well, and we'll look at our acronym PAOR, which stands for Purpose, Audience and Register. When we consider that acronym, especially for our question B task, Purpose, Audience and Register, it's very rare that we go massively wrong, okay? In fact, let's go on a positive note. When we stick to that acronym, Purpose, Audience and Register, chances are we get things very, very right, okay? So let us consider that going forward, PAOR, and we'll talk about that in a moment's time as well. A brief overview of our question B question. What is it? Where does it exist? How much time should you spend on it? You will have a choice, as discussed, in terms of your paper 1. There will be 3 different texts, text 1, text 2 and text 3. Each text will have a question A and a question B attached, and you will only have to take on 1 question B. Now, once you select that question B, again, as we discussed, you cannot take the question A from that particular text. So that's why I said we're going to choose our question B first. We're going to play to our strengths. We're going to try and find something that's on the paper that's A, we know how to go about it, B, we know what it should look like, and C, I suppose, from a more pragmatic and a more kind of pertinent idea, is one that we've done over and over and over again. One that we are, rather than trying to construct brand new information, rather than that we're simply trying to regurgitate some of the old information, some of the really, really positive, I suppose, pieces of written text that we've already done. All right? So that's certainly our goal for the question B. It is a functional task, all right? And the students who kind of keep this at the forefront of their mind when they're looking at question B's tend to do very, very well. You are being asked to perform a function, okay? So to do something very, very specific. Once you do that, your purpose mark will be incredibly high, okay? We're looking at a good chunk of those 50 marks, all right? We're going to spend 30 to 35 minutes on this topic. As I said, that'll very much depend on you guys. It'll depend on how easy you find this task. Again, it'll depend on how fast you are at writing as well. We're going to spend, as discussed, 8 to 12 minutes, depending on how fast you are at writing, per A4 page. Even if you push that out, you're looking at 24 minutes for 2 A4 pages, maybe another 6 minutes for half an A4 page or a little bit over. So that's 2.5 to 3 A4 pages in 30 minutes, plus a 60-minute plan. So it's about 31 minutes on that, all right? And I still maintain that 31 minutes, 35 minutes is a little bit of overkill. I'd imagine a lot of us out there won't need that time. But nonetheless, that's our window, guys. That's our window of opportunity there, all right? 2 to 3 A4 pages as discussed there. All about techniques as discussed. And then also what I would say to you guys, and take note of this now, when you are preparing and when you are developing your question Bs, because you should have a bank of around 6 or 7 different types of question Bs that are almost pre-prepared. You'll do that by attempting past paper questions and then again grading them yourself, looking at the marking schemes. But make sure your question Bs are really, really strong in terms of their opening and really strong in terms of their closing. Now, what do I mean by strength? I mean technically speaking, stylistically speaking. If you have to write, say for example, a text for talk for radio, and it's a local radio station, well then you make sure that your opening to that talk deals with the local radio station, mentions it, explains who the DJ is, invites in the guest, maybe gives out a text line number or a call-in number, or mentions the Instagram account that you can message the radio station on, etc., etc. The closing then has the DJ taking back over from the guest speaker, thanking them, saying that you're going to go to ads, or here's the next one from, I don't know, Foo Fighters, or nobody knows who Foo Fighters is, Cardi B, I don't know, whatever. I'm cringing myself, so should you. But that's the closing there, right? And that's really, really good. Okay, so you do things like that to show the examiner that stylistically speaking, really strong opening, really strong closing, okay? Our most common types of this function, this task that we are required to attempt, these are the most common that crop up time and time again. Speeches, debates, they crop up the entire time. Articles, especially I told you guys in last week's class about your trends, and to be mindful of the trends that exist within the Leaving Cert. You're smack bang in the middle of this online trend. A text for online publication, again an online article, maybe for a school website or a school magazine that is going to be published online. You get the gist. Things like blogs, I have it there as well. Things like podcasts, which, put a star beside, my classes laugh at me the entire time, because I've basically been predicting a podcast for the last number of years. It is yet to surface, it is yet to show up. But having said that, blog, I was predicting for a couple of years before that surfaced. And then when it did show up, my students again rushing out of paper one, embracing me as their hero, not quite, but literally asking me, Gavin, how did you know that was going to come up? Little did I tell them that I was predicting it for 2 years before that, and then it ultimately did come up. With this podcast, I'm waiting to see it. It's amazing to me, the fact that it hasn't shown itself yet, because there's always text for talks for radio, there's always blogs that exist, there's all this online element. Excuse me, and podcasts are so widespread, they're so universally listened to. I'm still shocked that it hasn't come up. I'll show you how to prepare for a podcast as we go through either in today's class or certainly when we come back to our question B as well, okay?